I think the enemy likes to attack us early and through rejection and fear. My dad, he called himself a disciplinarian. So I was really scared of my dad for years. Coming up, I had that fear. One time I was going to run away. I told my mother I was going to run away, and as I walked down the street slowly, in my mind, I'm just hoping that she'll holler out for me or come get me, and she never did. So again, the enemy used that to make me feel like they just don't love me, don't care, In seventh grade, so I was about 12, I started showing up at school functions drunk. Just as often as I could, I would drink, and that seemed to drown the pain, to be able to escape from that and not feel that. I did always believe in Jesus. Like my grandmother had the big old family Bible open, and I saw like John 3:16. But when I would read the Bible, it seemed like a foreign language. It didn't make any sense to me. Well, finally, the Gulf War had come up, and I had to go over there. We were in a big open bay, and everybody on their cots, and I remember I just felt this conviction, and I felt like so dirty and just scared, and I was crying out to the Lord. And I remember at that time when I asked the Lord to forgive me, and I had done this before, but this was different. It's like I felt His presence come in to my body. And after that, I opened my Bible, and all of a sudden it looked like plain English. It didn't seem like a foreign language anymore. It was just clear as a bell, like the Holy Spirit, the author of the Bible, was speaking to me. And I could hear Him just like I'm talking to you. Not an audible voice that anybody else could hear, but I could hear Him. When we were getting ready to come back to the States, I started getting a lot of doubts and fears, and sad to say, I was turning my back on the Lord. So I tried to come back and go back to the same way of life I had before, but it didn't work anymore. And I had like a spiritual tug-of-war going on the inside. I couldn't discern what was my voice, what was God's voice, what was the enemy's voice. All I knew was that I had a lot going on up there. But God did for me what I couldn't do for myself. I wound up getting a DUI and having to go, get a paper signed, go to AA. And so the first step was to admit I was powerless, and finally I said, Lord, if you don't do something, I'm gonna die like this. I knew that I was gonna die if I kept on. And so He took away the desire for the drink. And if I was sitting here wanting to drink today, I had no power not to do it. But when He took the desire for the drink away, it's never returned since. When I got to Harvest and I walked in the door, it's like I knew this is where I'm supposed to be. I could feel the Lord's presence. I felt the peace, and I knew that this was home. This is where I needed to be. And, I'm just so blessed to have the family, my eternal family here. Here at Harvest, after the worship, they usually have someone pray, and then we'll go to our break and come back with the message. And so I heard this girl praying that morning, and my first thought was, that girl's got the Holy Spirit. It got my attention to where I looked up. I found out she was actually leading the ministry group of Celebrate Recovery. Well, I had been sober for 27 years now, and we wound up, getting married. Now we both lead the recovery ministry, and God has blessed me so much. It's like, some of us are slow learners. I had to take a lot of bumps and bruises along the way doing it my way. Just like with the Israelites, they had the blessing or the curse, and He wanted them to choose life, and it was their choice. My parents, no matter what happened, they didn't pour a drink down my throat. That was my choice. It was my decision. And even if, all of us at some point were probably a victim of some sort, but we don't have to stay a victim. We can be a victor, and we can walk in the victory that Christ already gave us. That stronghold that has us is no match for Him. It's too much for us, without him, but through him, we can do all things.